NFC Super Bowl contenders for the 2023 season. What team do you think is going to win each division? Do you think that the Eagles are going to win the NFC East again? Or what about the Cowboys? Can Dak Prescott finally get his team to the Super Bowl? Then you have the NFC North. Is the Vikings going to pull through and come out with a 13-win record again? Or is there going to be a new champ? What about the NFC South? You now have Derek Carr, who is now the new captain for the Saints. Or are you going to have another team dethrone and keep the South win? And then what about the NFC West? You have the dominant 49ers, or is there going to be a new champ? So let's get it started and talk to you about the NFC Divisional Winners, who I think the 2023 season is going to have.
Hold on, wait a minute. Y'all thought I was finished?
Welcome back to Football Barbie, where we talk about anything and everything football. So like I said, today I'm going to be talking to you, who do I think is going to win each NFC division? And I'm going to start with the NFC East, my Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I do think, sorry, Dallas fans, that the Eagles are going to win the division again with 14 wins here. Now, that may sound a little bit crazy, especially with there being some close games. I feel like we have tremendous grit and we want to fight hard, especially after getting some new defensive weapons. I think that Jalen Carter, even though his issues aside off the field, he is going to do great for us. He looked really good in preseason. We were 14-3 last season. Now, I feel like we did have a little bit of obviously an easier record, and now obviously being in the Super Bowl, we get the harder record as well. I do think that we have the chance to repeat that 14-3 season. So the last season, the Eagles scored a 29.1 points per game and allowed 19.8, both of which were one of the best marks in the league. Jalen Hurts had his best year where he was one of the finalists for the league MVP, and during the Super Bowl, he accounted for 4 touchdowns. He had 3,701 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions, with missing 2 games towards the end of the season. The Eagles were my surprise, apparently a slight favorite over the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, but we did fall by a score of 38-35 after falling to hold on to that halftime lead. It was that damn holding call at the end, that questionable holding call that really basically ended up costing this game. You just got to remember, sometimes it's just one play that can cost your team the game. During the regular season, Miles Sanders, whose jersey I have, and now that sucks that he's on Carolina, good luck for him, was a slight favorite, and he had the team's leading rusher with 1,269 yards and 11 touchdowns, while A.J. Brown was one of the top pass catchers with 1,496 yards and 11 touchdowns as well. Now, I'm going to insert you here this video clip. That was my absolutely favorite video clip during the season. As soon as I seen this video clip come out, and this puts it together prospectively.
Fly Eagles fly, fly Eagles fly. Philly's been looking dangerous all season. Why would I lie? Jalen Hurts' one objective is to get a ring. All season did his thing. Nice in discussion for the MVP. AJ and Devontae taking off on the runway. It's like they get 100 yards every Sunday. Now the NFC East knows they gotta come play, cause both receivers tally yards over 1K. And you still gotta worry about Miles Sanders. My only question for the league, who gon' have an answer? Over 1,000 yards rushing, and my boy ran and he celebrated doing the shady McCoy dance. Tough.
In the free agency, the club agreed to extensions with cornerback James Bradberry and defensive end Brandon Graham, who we all love. Brandon Graham, he's been with the Eagles for quite some time. And they did sign running back Rashad Penny, formerly the Seahawks. Now, obviously, the key is keeping that man healthy, apparently. They did agree to the 5-year, $255 million contract extension with Jalen Hurts. As for the draft picks, they had 2 in the first round, selecting defensive tackle Jalen Carter at number 9, and followed with linebacker Nolan Smith at number 30. They also signed Marcus Mariota, who is in the show Quarterbacks. It was really good if you haven't watched it, on Netflix. Javon Hargrove and Andre Dillard are among the players who have signed elsewhere. Now let's talk to you about the NFC West. Now, unfortunately, I'm sorry. I do also think that the 49ers are going to repeat that win. With Sam Darnold as the current quarterback, no one is quite sure on exactly how he will play for the 49ers, but the team itself is a really good team. I have been talking with fans. I was traveling very recently. I was in Panama with my mother for her birthday, and we were seeing 49ers fans, and I said, so who do you think your starting quarterback is going to be? And everyone was like, Brock Purdy, man. Brock Purdy's coming back first game. And I'm like, you don't think that his injury is still going to be a factor? And they're like, no, Brock Purdy's going to be our quarterback. And I'm like, okay, I guess we will see, because you guys did announce Sam Darnold, but let's see what happens. So I'm giving the 49ers 12 wins this year, with having a last season record of 13-4. And that was with their hurt quarterbacks, including Trey Lance, Jimmy G, and then Brock Purdy, with them still making it to the playoffs, where they advanced to the title game before falling to the Eagles, as injuries at Purdy proved to be far much to overcome. Purdy had suffered a UCL tear during that game and is now on the mend. This team has a solid run on success, with 3 conference title game appearances in the last 4 years, but has yet to reach the Super Bowl in that span. Sorry, Dallas fans, I can't help but laugh a little bit. The 49ers are the ones who have beaten you out the past 2 seasons in the playoffs, preventing you from getting to the Super Bowl. Last season, the 49ers scored an average of 25.9 points per game and allowed 17.2. Christian McCaffrey topped the team in yards rushing with 746, while Brandon Ayuk led the receivers with 1,015 yards. The 49ers franchise is 5-2 in all big game appearances, losing to the Chiefs at the Super Bowl last time in Super Bowl 54. As for coaching, they hired Stevie Wilkes with interim coach of the Panthers to take place of DeMeco Ryans. The 49ers have further bolstered their defense with signing of defensive tackle Javon Hargrave from the Eagles to a 4-year, $84 million deal. Then you have their picks from the draft, where they weren't on the clock until round 3. They acquired safety Jair Brown of Penn State, kicker Jake Moody from Michigan, and Alabama tight end Cameron Latu. Also picked up cornerback Darrell Luter Jr. So I do think that the 49ers really do have a good chance to do well again for the West and dominate that. Then let's talk about the NFC North. Now, the Vikings killed that last year. They had, a really good record. However, I am giving the NFC North to the Lions, giving them 9 wins again this season, where last season they did come up short at the playoffs under the second year of Dan Campbell. However, the team improved from a 3-13-1 record from the season before to 9-8 as last season. Last season, Lions averaged 26.6 points per game, while allowing 27.5. Jared Goff had a solid campaign, throwing for 4,438 yards and 29 touchdowns. Jamal Williams was the team's leading rusher with 1,066 yards, while Amon-Ra St. Brown led the receivers with 1,161 yards. The last time the club made it to the postseason in 2016, where they lost to the Seahawks in the wild card round, they have never made it to the Super Bowl. At the start of the free agency, Detroit made a number of signings, including cornerback Cam Sutton, running back David Montgomery. They also agreed extensions with linebacker Alex Anzalone, defensive line John Comiskey. However, during the offseason, Jamison Williams and Stanley Berryhill are suspended for 6 games due to the violations of the NFL gambling policy, while CJ Moore and Quintez Cephas have received indefinite suspensions. The Lions did have first 2-round picks in the draft, selecting running back Jahmyr Gibbs at number 12, followed by linebacker Jack Campbell at number 18. Nate Sudfeld is Goff's current backup. Now, I do think they will beat the Vikings this year by 1 to clinch the divisional win. So, let's see if the Lions can pull off the divisional winner. Then lastly, we have the NFC South. I think that this is going to giving the Saints here with 9 wins this season, with having them signed newly quarterback Derek Carr. Well, they took him from the Raiders to a 4-year deal worth $150 million. Now, the Saints have not been the same since the Drew Brees era ended. They have not been able to do super well in the playoffs, their seasons, since Drew Brees has retired. They did close out last season on the outside of the playoffs, where they just couldn't find any consistency for much of the campaign before starting to turn it around with the end of a 3-game winning streak. The Saints were able to show improvement over the last season of play, but it just wasn't enough to dig themselves out of an early season hole, finishing 7-10. Last season, the Saints scored an average of 19.4 points per game and allowed 20.3. Andy Dalton threw for 2,871 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions over 14 starts. Alvin Kamara led the team in rushing with 897 yards, but he does face a 3-game suspension, which is only for the first 3 games. Now, he's oddly enough playing in the preseason, but he is not allowed to play the first 3 games of the regular season after his incident in Las Vegas, which he did have court for. Rookie Chris Olave was at the top for receivers with 1,042 yards. He is really good. Pay attention to him. They also signed defensive tackle Nathan Shepard and running back Jamal Williams. During the draft, they had the 29th choice, signing defensive tackle Brian Breesy. They lost Caden Ellis and Shy Tuttle for the upcoming season. The club last made the playoffs in 2020, losing to the Bucs in the divisional round. They didn't win its only Super Bowl appearance over the Colts at Super Bowl 44 with Drew Brees, and I do remember watching that game. So, there we go. Let's talk about it. Divisional winners. That is who I believe is going to win the division. So, I can't wait to see how it actually goes because these are my 2023 season predictions. So, who do you think of these teams is going to actually go to the Super Bowl? And then we still have the wild cards to go. So pay attention to that video next. Thank you so much, guys. Please make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. I really, really greatly would appreciate it. I love y'all so much. Ta-ta for now.